Okay, chapter 252 of Eden Zero has to be the most fun Hero has ever had when making a chapter. It's definitely the most fun I've had in a long time reading a chapter of manga, and if the anime manages to get to this point in the story, I can't wait to see how they animate this wacky and crazy chapter. Now, before we get into what happened in this week's chapter, I did miss the review for 251, so let's just do a quick recap on what happened in that one. That chapter basically opens up with the ending of chapter 250, where Helix ends up knocking out the power all across the city, cutting off communication between Shiki's gang and Eden Zero. Which we end up finding out is surprisingly enough currently docked on Milt's, and I mean, I guess it's not all that surprising to find out, because as far as they knew, this was just going to be a friendly visit to Rebecca's parents, and a quick pit stop before getting back on their journey to find Mother. So it makes perfect sense why they would decide to dock the ship on the planet instead of staying out of space, though that being said, I do bet they wish they had at this point. Also, I do find it weird that half the crew decided to stay behind on the ship instead of exploring the city. I mean, I can understand why Herman and Witch had to stay behind, because they would be the ones in charge of updating the systems on the ship with any information that they get from Rachel. And when it comes to Laguna, we already established that he hates the cold, so exploring a planet that's always snowing probably wasn't the most appealing thing to him. But you would think the rest of the crew would want to take this time to relax and enjoy this brand new environment, before they go back to their daily lives of having to fight life and death battles. But anyway, Old Man Wise manages to get the comms back up, connecting them back to Eden Zero, which actually leads to a pretty funny scene where we get to see the crew there reacting to meeting him for the first time. We see Hermit freaking out over how impressive his hacking skills are compared to hers and their Wise, while Laguna, Jin, and Clean all laugh at how old he is. After that, we see Shiki's team, the Professor, and Bernie make their way to their ships while fighting off the Helix drones, but on their way they find out from Feather that Helix has made it onto the Eden Zero and has already slowed down time for everyone on it. Now, moving on to chapter 252, which picks up from there, we see Shiki, Rebecca, and the Professor all decide to use Wormhole to teleport onto the opposite side of the ship, leaving Wise and Homura to handle the remaining drones. And this is where things start to get really interesting. Because you see, it seems like the helix on the ship is the main helix, or at the very least, a more advanced version of the remaining clones, because once they get onto the ship, the Professor and Shiki are instantly affected by the time manipulation. But if you remember back to the clone that Rebecca originally fought, the Professor and Bernie were able to enter the area of effect without slowing down because they came in after the power was activated, meaning they wouldn't suffer from its effects. So this drastic change in ability means that this helix is either the real one or a much stronger clone, and I'm inclined to believe the former due to how Helix interacts with Rebecca once she's on the ship, instantly reminiscing about their past together and asking Rebecca to play games with her once again. Which she does end up getting her wish by teleporting Rebecca into a series of games where the two battle it out, and this is where the fun comes in on this chapter, seeing Rebecca go through so many genres of games while trying to survive being hunted down by Helix. Also, in case you didn't catch it, the first game Rebecca is put into is Rebecca and the Mechanical Mansion, a pixel-style RPG focusing on Rebecca that Hero made and released himself in 2022. The other games are a motorcycle racing game, they briefly go into a Super Mario-inspired game, and finally landing into a fighting game. And obviously, in each game, Helix fixes things to be in her favor, between slowing down Rebecca's speed in the first one so she can't run away, giving herself weapons but not Rebecca during the racing game, and not letting Rebecca recover her health in between rounds in the fighting game. Despite how much of a pro gamer she is, even Rebecca can't handle having this much of a handicap, but lucky for her, the Professor and Shiki manage to break the time effect and come crashing into the game world to her rescue, with the chapter ending with the old man showing his age by turning the game world into a classic style fantasy RPG, where we get to see him dressed as a wizard, Shiki cosplaying as the main character from the first Dragon Age game, and Rebecca wearing a bikini armor set. And look, I do get when it comes to female warrior type characters in fantasy RPGs back in the day, those are the kind of revealing outfits that they would wear, and I'm not complaining about it because, it's Rebecca. Still kind of weird though that her adopted dad was the one who chose that kind of outfit for her. Anyway, ignoring all that, this chapter actually had me questioning exactly what Helix's true motives are. Because alright, I know Helix is supposed to be evil and working with Void to basically eradicate all non-robotic life from the universe, but maybe she's not actually truly evil, or maybe she's not completely evil, because every interaction she had with Rebecca in this chapter seemed less like a machine trying to hunt and kill her prey, and more like an old friend trying to desperately reconnect with a friend they haven't seen in a long time. Because if you really think about it, in every single game world they went into, Helix had complete and utter control over everything and had every opportunity to kill Rebecca whenever she wanted, but she never took any of those opportunities, choosing to instead play around with Rebecca and let her escape and fight back each time at the last second. And I don't know, it could be that since Helix was originally created to be Rebecca's entertainment, that when face to face with her, that programming comes front and center, overriding her orders from Void. causing her to want to play games with Rebecca instead of killing her. Because again, going back to each and every game world, she had the perfect opportunity to kill Rebecca and continually let her escape and go into the next one to experience the new version of a game. Or maybe Helix was just simply toying with Rebecca the entire time, a twisted attempt at getting revenge at her for calling her games boring when she was a kid. Either way, Helix's personal feelings towards Rebecca, whether it be affection or hate, has definitely gotten away from her mission from Void of collecting the Mother Ether, and this will definitely lead to her downfall in the coming chapters. But now that we know that the two of them are connected and that she has a fun time basically toying with or playing with Rebecca, this definitely sets up the idea that at the end of the series, when we get into the final battles, Helix and Rebecca will be having a round 2, where we'll get to see the final results of a one-on-one battle between two time manipulators, and hopefully by then, Rebecca has found her brand new power and is no longer relying solely on overdrive, because her using it and just kicking people has kind of gotten boring at this point. And hey, since this mini arc seems to be coming to an end, maybe Rebecca will finally figure out what her brand new abilities are in the next chapter, but we'll have to wait until the next one comes out to find out.